Our scripture reading and devotional thoughts for March 30th. Our reading today is found in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 7, beginning in verse 1. After he had finished all his sayings in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. Now a centurion had a servant who was sick and at the point of death, who was highly valued by him. When the centurion heard about Jesus, he sent him elders of the Jews, asking him to come and heal his servant. And when he came to Jesus, they pleaded with him earnestly, saying, "He is worthy to have you do this for him, for he loves our nation, and he is the one who built us our synagogue." And Jesus went with them. When he was not far from the house, the centurion sent friends, saying to him, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Therefore I did not presume to come to you, but say the word, and let my servant be healed. For I too am a man set under authority, with soldiers under me. And I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my servant, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard these things, he marveled at them, and turning to the crowd that followed him, said, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." And when those who had been sent returned to the house, they found the servant well. Soon afterward, he went to a town called Nain, and his disciples, and a great crowd went with him. And he drew near to the gate of the town. Behold, a man who had died was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. And a considerable crowd from the town was with her. When the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her and said to her, "Do not weep." Then he came up and touched the bier, and the bearers stood still. And he said, "Young man, I say to you, arise." And the dead man sat up and began to speak. And Jesus gave him to his mother. Fear seized them all, and they glorified God, saying, "A great prophet has arisen among us, and God has visited his people." And this report about him spread through the whole of Judea and all the surrounding country. Our devotional thoughts for today. Have you ever studied the great detail of a spider's web? If you have, you'll notice how interwoven the strands are. So it is with our influence in the world. It has been said to those who would travel incognito that it is not who you see, but who sees you that matters. That is to say, our actions, for good or bad, are seen by more than we can imagine. In today's passage, we find a centurion who is highly esteemed by his community, in need of help for his slave who is dying. A most amazing situation when you consider human nature. It's not unusual when an invading force occupies a land to have bitter feelings harbored within the hearts of the native citizens. After all, these forces may have taken away their dignity, their freedom, their heritage, not to mention their livelihood, to say the least. These scenarios are quite common across cultures, across oceans, and across the ages in war-torn countries. Yet, we find here in this village a remarkable example of how, in spite of clashing cultures and nations, an occupying commander is well respected. We don't know if the slave was Jewish or not, but nonetheless, this servant is highly regarded by the centurion. In all probability, this man was known by Jesus since it was in the same town where he lived. The leader follows a protocol by asking the elders of the town to bring Jesus to him. Obliged, the elders bring Jesus, and while he is still en route, the centurion makes an astonishing statement of faith that amazed even the Son of God. "Just say the word, and my servant will be healed." That was the faith that Jesus wanted to see in his fellow Jews, but did not. It takes one whom by all accounts should not know of faith to show those who should be welcoming the Messiah the way. It is easy to see why this man was well respected by the Jews of that town. Sometimes it takes an outsider to show us the way. We never know who will be put in our path to help us along. Question of the day. Have you ever thought of the integrity that the centurion of the New Testament possessed that made him stand out as a Roman citizen? A thought to meditate on today. It's easy to lose sight of how interwoven our lives are. While nearly impossible to see the whole picture, we can nonetheless appreciate the interconnectedness with those around us. Those are our thoughts for the day, March 30th.